So this idea that so many people get trapped in is we are afraid to act because everybody's afraid to fail. Robert Kiyosaki talks about going to his rich dad and saying, oh my gosh, I'm so frustrated, I'm so mad, I'm so depressed because this thing hasn't worked out. And his rich dad laughs at him and says, you're not failing fast enough. You need to fail more and you need to fail faster. That is how you grow. But again, because so many of us are afraid of failure, we refuse to act. We are very slow in our actions. We're very slow to take action, to make decisions, because we're afraid to fail. So the idea here is act, fail, learn, and make the adjustment. And then act, and then fail, learn, adjust. Act, fail, learn, adjust. So many people, though, they act and they fail, and they go emotional. Does that sound familiar? Act, fail, go emotional. And then we go, well, I'm never going to do that again. No, that's not the idea. Don't ever do that again. The idea is learn from the failure. Learn from the failure. One of the things that I've done with so many leaders in our leadership training at the Leadership Academy here, the Leadership Initiative, is we talk about education. In the making of a leader, there is education, there is experience, and there is evaluation. I think this is probably why I enjoyed being a science teacher so much, is because in a science class, there was education that went on, and then we actually went and did experiments. We actually went and cut up things, okay, and did stuff. So we would have education, we'd have experience, but then also these two all by themselves aren't enough. There has to be evaluated experience. So many times, again, when we think about leadership and we think about growing, what we do is, well, I just need to learn how to be a leader. Okay, that's cool. Go read books. That's good. You do need an education. You do need to learn about leadership. However, if you don't have experience in being a leadership, the education will be hollow. You have to have the experience. You have to have been there before. But then at the leadership school that my wife and I started out north of Tulsa, we began to add this third piece that we found, man, this was the differentiator. This was what made all the difference, was having somebody in your life that would help you on a consistent basis actually interpret the education and experience that you're having. Clay, I'm thinking about X, Y, and Z, and this is what happened, and all this kind of stuff, and so what do I do about that? Well, let me help you with the pictures. Let me help you understand the education and the experience that you've just gone through. We did a ton in our team building, and you may have done ropes courses before and group initiatives and everything. One of the most powerful things about this, when you do ropes courses and you do group initiatives, one of the powerful things about it, and I would strongly say that if you don't do this, it's like you haven't really done it yet. But it's the afterwards. It's breaking it down. It's the evaluation of the experience. Talking about what came up, how we handled it. What does that mean? How do we overcome that? How do we get from here to there? Again, what are the pictures? When a leader comes in and is actually able to inspire people with the path, inspire people with, I understand where you are right now. You're probably thinking this. You're probably having these thoughts. You're probably having these emotions. You're probably thinking about this. You're probably doing this. Your answer to this is probably that. Does any of that make sense? Yes, it's exactly where I am. Okay, I get it. I get it. And what we need to do is go from here, just expand our capacity. And here's what's going to happen in the future. You're going to begin to think this way. You're going to begin to interpret this way. You're going to begin to act this way, and people will respond this way. All of a sudden, people are going, you mean that's a possibility? You mean that's actually an option to do this, to actually get to that spot? Yes, it is. And you inspire people with the picture of the next level. Again, inspiring people, it's all about giving them pictures. And if your pictures are just negative pictures, this is going to happen to you if you don't do it. You can't inspire people with negative. You can motivate them, but you can't inspire people with negative. Inspire can only come from positive things. Inspiring people, the pictures have to be positive. So again, this idea of education, experience, evaluation. Man, there were so many people that we had in our leadership training, and so many of my clients have heard me say over and over, you're in a great spot. You're in a really good spot. And they would just look at me and go, you are crazy. There's no way that this is a good spot. But then I would begin to explain to them the path. I would begin to explain to them in the bigger picture where they were. And all of a sudden, they would begin to see through a different lens. They would begin to see what I was seeing, and they'd go, wow, this thing that just 10 minutes ago I was looking at so negatively, and I was looking at with a lot of depression, all of a sudden I'm going, you're right. You mean I am growing? You mean I am moving along the path? Exactly. And there would be inspiration, and there would be more desire to follow the invitation to move forward. You guys, but they would tell you it was difficult. It wasn't just one day I woke up and said, hey, I think I'll be a leader today. The idea here of so many things going on in my life, and it started, when I talk about my story, it started about 25 years old for me. Up until about 25 years old, I had had a bunch of experiences in the position of leader, but I hadn't grown in character. And all of a sudden, it was like the gods all got together and the universe lined up and said, it's now time to begin to train Clay in the character of leader. And gradually, one thing after another in my life, pillars that were in my life began to get flicked out from under me. It all began when I got fired by my mom, my dad, and my brother from the family business, all at the same time. My whole future, my whole vision for the future, my picture for the future that was inspiring me and that was exciting me about the future was to be a part of the family business. And now here I was, fired from the family business. And over a period of about the next 7 years, gradually, one thing after another began to get flicked out. Pillars, strong things that I was putting my future, resting my future on, began to get kicked out from under me. We'll talk more about these in sessions to come. But where that left me was just, oh no, all of a sudden I don't have all of these pillars, I just had me. And I found that I was greatly lacking, greatly insufficient to get where I wanted to get. And so there were so many things that I went through, so many struggles that I went through, that at the time I didn't fully understand what was going on. So I'm like screaming to the universe, I'm yelling at God, why? But then gradually, as the motion picture comes forward, and you may be in this spot too, you begin to learn from the failure. You begin to learn, you begin to make adjustments. Your understanding, all right, from education, experience, evaluation, you begin to expand your capacity because of the things that you have been through. So many times people experience difficulty and struggle at this level right here. Have you ever heard someone say this before? Well, I'm not going to do that again. I'm never going to go through that again. And kind of make these inner vows, I'm never going to do that again. That's never going to happen to me again. It's like, okay, all right, you can say that, but unfortunately what we do is we stop short. There's so much more in store for us. But we stop because we say, I am no longer willing to fail. I am no longer willing to go through pain. And as a result, we limit our ability to lead. We limit our ability to inspire other people. Oh, you guys, there are so many people out there that are hurting, so many people that are in pain, so many people that are in a spot of just saying, where am I supposed to go? So many people that are in the dark, that need leaders that have been in the dark and have learned the path out of the dark into the light and now are willing to come back and help other people through. I love it. I think it was Zig Ziglar that talks about it's not just, success is not just you getting to the top of the mountain. Success is getting as many people to the top of the mountain with you as possible. That is success. Success without a successor is empty. It's being able to grab others, inspiring others to follow you. You guys, again, leaders are made. They are not born. They are made. So the question is for you, what have you had to overcome? What have you had to work through? What have you had to learn the path and navigate through? You guys, the struggles that you have, I promise you, the universe, God, will bring the great unseen hand, as Napoleon Hill talks about. The great unseen hand is going to bring struggle and difficulty your way. The question is, how will you respond to it? How will you navigate through it? It's important that you navigate. It's important that you learn how to navigate through the struggle. Because in the future, I promise you, in the future, when you navigate through difficulty and through struggle, it will position you to be able to help others. You'll be able to give them the correct pictures to interpret where they are. And as you give them the correct pictures, you will find that you will tap into their spirit. All of a sudden, there is energy. All of a sudden, there is a positivity. There is an encouragement. There is something that gets off of their shoulders, and they're going, yes, I can do it. But it takes people like you and me actually working through those struggles. It takes people like you and I time. It doesn't just happen. Again, you can get the leadership position at a young age. That's not wrong. That's not bad. But just because you have the leadership position doesn't mean that you are a leader. So congratulations on your leadership position. But have you become a leader just yet? If you're still in the spot of, I just don't have time, the people are killing me, well, that'll let you know that you might be a great worker, but we haven't yet become the leader that we need to be. It takes time. We're going to be talking about in future sessions here, again, the difference between the skill of a leader and the character of a leader, the spirit of a leader. How do we tap into that? That's where we want to be. Again, I think that there's something about leadership that actually transcends just activity. It transcends just skill. And it actually taps into the spirit. Some kind of a spiritual level. I don't fully understand it, but just from what I've seen and what I've experienced in my own life, true leaders that are able to inspire are in this, they're like in this whole other level where they are able to tap into the spirit of other people. You guys, I've got a handful of people that I have coached in the past. Young leaders, and when I say young leaders, I don't necessarily mean they are young in age, but they just haven't been leaders for a long time, although some of them are young in age. And they are saying, Clay, I don't have vision. Clay, help me with vision. Clay, I need vision in my life. I ask them, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? And they go, man, I don't really know. I don't really know what's out there. I don't really know who I want to be. And they come to me and they ask me, Clay, tell me. Clay, help me with vision. And the idea here is I can't give you vision. All I can do is inspire you with my pictures, inspire you with my vision. But I can't give you your vision. There's an old Middle Eastern parable. It talks about these women, and they were waiting on a wedding. It was this huge wedding celebration that was going to be going on. And they were on the outside of the house waiting for the wedding to begin, for the doors to be opened. And they each had lamps. And while they were waiting, they had their lamps going. And there were 10 of them. And so while they're waiting to get into the wedding, 5 of the women, their oil in their lamps burned low. And they began to run out of oil. The other 5 women had brought extra oil with them. And then all of a sudden it was time for the doors to open. But the women that did not have any oil were not able to go in because they had run out of oil in their lamps. And so they began to ask the other women, give us some of your oil, give us some of your oil. And the other 5 women didn't give them any oil, and the other 5 went in, and the first 5 had to stay out. They weren't able to go in. I remember first hearing that story and going, well, man, that sounds a little harsh. How come they didn't share their oil? How come they didn't just give them their oil? I didn't really understand it until much later in life when somebody actually told me, Clay, the oil isn't just something that you can give somebody. The oil is their life. The oil is their education, experience, and evaluation. Their oil is what they have gone through. Their oil was their character. And you can't just give that to somebody. It's like, no, it's taken me years to develop this oil so that I can be prepared when things come up. I can't just give you my years of experience.
Cool. We just kind of do the close out.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
So, whenever you're ready.
Sure. So my question again to you is, what have you overcome? What have you gone through? What have you overcome? Where have you acted, failed, learned, and made adjustments? Where have you had education and experience and had somebody help you evaluate? Again, it can't just be you doing your own self-evaluation. We've talked about this. You can only think what you think. For me, it took me 47 years to actually be willing to allow somebody else outside of me to evaluate me. But the question is, what have you overcome? What have you been through? Here's a truth that I think is important for you to know. The things that you overcome, the things that you work through, are actually the same areas where you will have authority to lead here on earth. Catch that again. The things that you have come through, the struggles that you have worked through and learned how to get to the other side, those are the areas where you will actually be given authority by the universe to lead and inspire others. So I want to encourage you, if you are in a leadership position, you're going through struggle, you're going through difficulty, to press on. Get somebody to help you understand the right pictures, the right way to interpret your situation. If you're in a struggle, in a difficulty that's got you depressed, that's got you down, strongly encourage you to find someone that can give you the perspective that will actually inspire you and encourage you to move forward. You guys, once again, this is Winning in the Workplace. This is the leadership level, session number 3, where we're talking about the path and how to inspire people.